Boker Tov. It has been a little more than 6 months since we returned from the Centennial Mission, a trip intended to launch the greatest year in the history of Greater Metro West. Instead, just a few months later, it became one of the most trying and heart-wrenching periods in the history of the Jewish people. While we have been watching the war unfold on the news, I have found myself thinking often of the places we visited and the people we met. I think about Har Herzl, where one soldier was being buried on the day of our visit, and how since October 7th, so many more families have had to pay tribute for the ultimate sacrifice of their loved ones. I think about our friends in our partnership communities, whose lives have been completely upended by the tragedy, whose sense of security is forever shattered. I think about the soldiers we met at the Neora IDF base on the first day of the mission. We sat at their base under the tent and honored the brave and dedicated IDF soldiers and all that they represent. We sang with the Special and Uniform Band and danced our hearts out. It feels like yesterday, but of course, so much has changed. Before we move on to hear from our special guests this morning, I want to share a few photos and a video from the 36th Northern Brigade we met that day. The 36th Brigade has been in Gaza since the very beginning of the war. They just came out a few days ago. They shared some photos and a touching video clip of them singing Hatikva during a ceremony that they had only a few miles from the border. Those who returned were saluted, and then both the battalion and those in attendance honored their friends who had fallen. They have not returned home. They are awaiting their next mission. I am deeply grateful and honored to introduce our two speakers, both of whom are dear friends of our community. Itzik Yanni was the chief guide for our Centennial Mission and is a major in the Paratroopers Reserve Unit. He has been on duty since October 7th. Michal Zur is the director of Greater Metro West Israel office. She is a resident of Kibbutz Erez, one of our partnership communities located in the Gaza envelope.
Shalom, dear friends from Israel. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Itzik, married to Yael. We have 4 daughters. One of them is an officer in the army. The second one is a soldier in the army. She joined during the war. And I'll share with you what I've been doing, what my unit has been doing since October 7th. October 7th began for me Shabbat morning. I live in Gush Etzion, area that
we lose Itzik? All right, I think we'll need to go to Michal and then hopefully be able to get Itzik back.
Okay, until we get Itzik back. Shalom, everyone. I had so much to say, and then you played Hatikva, and then I started crying. I'll admit it's not easy for me to hear Hatikva and to sing Hatikva these days. The feelings here are not easy. We've been in this situation for 110 days. We still have over 130 kidnapped people, civilians and soldiers in Gaza, babies and elderly and young women. And we hear what's going on with them. Some of them, there are rough estimations, not formal estimations, that about half of them are no longer alive. And I don't think anyone will be able to breathe normally until they're back home. So I think that would be my message to everyone, and I keep saying it. We need to make as much noise as possible, globally, internationally, to make sure that they're coming back home. I wanted to zoom in maybe on our partner communities and brief you on where we are and what's been going on with them. I'll start up north. Some of you visited the village, the Druze village of Khorfesh. It is located right by the border with Lebanon, where Itzik served most of the past 3 months before he got into Gaza. They're struggling. The amount of bombing in the area, of missiles, most of them are without even an alarm going off, because there are different types of missiles that don't turn on the alarm systems. They're located very close to an Air Force base, Air Force intelligence base on Mount Meron. So whenever they're being targeted, the village of Khorfesh is also getting some of the fire. They had some casualties, fallen soldiers from the village. So we're trying to be there with them and help them through the emergency campaign that you all been part of, and it's an opportunity to thank you all. Moving down from Khorfesh all the way south to Arad. Arad is, I think 3 or 4 buses were there on the mission. Arad is not in the fire line, but the same way that many communities, I think all cities, villages, moshavim in Israel felt the need to help and do something. Arad absorbed over 3,000 evacuees from different towns of the south and helped them going through this very, very challenging time of being away from home, with schools, with emotional therapy and cultural activities. It got even to the smallest resolutions of people baking birthday cakes, designed birthday cakes for kids who were celebrating away from home upon request. Like everything, they did whatever they could. They collected a lot of supplies to help people, and we are inspired to see the amount of work that they did. From Arad, I'm moving all the way to west to Merchavim. Merchavim is an area of Moshavim outside of Ofakim. On October 7th, Merchavim, because they're located closer to the Re'im and the Eshkol area, were the ones absorbing many thousands of the casualties from the Nova party. They were hiding them in their houses. They were treating them medically, emotionally. The chaos that was there that morning was unbelievable. And the residents of Merchavim, some of them, risked their lives driving back and forth from the location of the Nova party back to Merchavim and to the Soroka hospital in Be'er Sheva, truly risking their lives to help people they don't know, just because the army wasn't there at that time. The medical services, MADA and others, were not allowed to get into that area. And civilians, our friends, did whatever they can. From Merchavim, I'm crossing the street to the road to Ofakim. Ofakim, our dear partnership community for the past almost 30 years, a very small, quiet town. Most of you visited there, I think, not even in the mission, but on other occasions. Ofakim was attacked by several tracks of terrorists that morning. It was the morning of Simchat Torah. It's an observant town. People were on their way to synagogue. 52 people were murdered that day, some of them by terrorists entering the houses and just slaughtering, just killing civilians, some of them on the streets. Many of the buildings in the neighborhood that was attacked, it was one of the oldest neighborhoods. They don't have safe rooms attached to their houses. So once they hear the alarms, they go out of the house into the communal shelters. So the terrorists found them on the way, running back and forth, and killed them on the streets. The heroism, the stories of heroism in Ofakim were great. And many of them, including some of our personal and closest friends like Igali Luz and Moshe Ochayon and others that had a very close connection with our community. They were able to stop the terrorists until the army came and helped them, but they lost their lives there. The trauma there is huge, is immense. We've been trying through the emergency campaign to help them with the local resilience house that we opened within the neighborhood, with fixing the shelters, making sure that they will be available for whatever development in the area. I think we already took care of over 50 shelters with the funds that were raised, which is greatly appreciated by the town of Ofakim. It's going to take, I think, not months but years to recover the resilience of the residents. It brings a lot of questions about police forces and the ability of a town to protect itself. In Israel, everything is depending on the governmental police and rescue forces. There are no local forces, and now they're building their own units to be able to respond for future events. And then Kibbutz Erez, where I live, not in the past 3 months. In the past 3 months, we've been evacuated to Mitzpe Ramon. It's been a great place of quiet and desert and views and fresh air. And it made us recover to some extent. At this point, I think we're really tired and we really miss home. And we wanna go back. I think most of us, at least the kids. I think overall, if you ask the kids of the kibbutz, they're all ready to move back tomorrow or today. If you ask the parents, it's very mixed feelings. I have friends who've been there to visit and came back with major panic attacks. Me, as a parent, I don't know. I never thought that I'm actually putting my kids' life in danger until now. I knew that it's not easy living by the border, but I didn't have the feeling that I'm endangering them. Today, I don't know. So for now, for the next few months, we'll probably move closer to the center of Israel, to Kiryat Gat. But it's a very tough decision to make as a community. It feels like a stage of everyone is moving into different directions, and I think the challenge, both on a personal level and as a community, is great in rebuilding. I'll end here, and then if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer on the chat. Thanks.
Okay, first of all, I apologize. The cell service in some parts or something flies above our head is not too great. October 7th, I understood that this is something different. I drove to my base, where my role as the third in command is to make sure that the soldiers come and get their equipment. And at 9 o'clock in the morning, I was already in the base. At 2 o'clock, the first soldiers were fully equipped and were on their way to Kfar Aza. In Kfar Aza, what we did, we fought terrorists that were there. for the next 2 days, we helped making sure that there are no longer any terrorists, and helped with collecting the bodies, unfortunately, of many, many people that were murdered in Kfar Aza. The first few days, we were fighting in Israel, in Kfar Aza and in other villages. Then suddenly there was a fear that something will happen in the north, so my unit was we moved ourselves to the north to protect the northern border, and then as part of a larger unit that we belong to, then we began our mission in Khan Yunis, which is in the central part. So if you want to see what Gaza looks like, then we can now put a picture on. We're working to make sure that this area will no longer be a threat. The IDF, and as an officer in the IDF, we have two goals. It's not necessarily in the order of importance because both of them are important, but my personal order of importance is bringing the hostages back home, each and every one of them, whether they're alive or, unfortunately, if they're no longer alive. And the second is to destroy the Hamas infrastructure that was built there for years. How do we destroy Hamas infrastructure? So in this short video, you can see how it's done. And this takes time. And this is done very, very carefully and slowly. Unfortunately, sometimes mistakes happened. And that's what happened 2 days ago when something exploded at the wrong time. And we are working very, very hard to make sure that our soldiers are safe. People ask me about the innocent people in Gaza. I haven't met too many innocent people there. Each and every house has weapons in it, has explosives, has shafts that connect to tunnel systems and so on. And therefore, the term innocent people is somewhat complicated. I just finished visiting a friend from Be'eri. So yes, you can show a video now that shows what it means to take apart Hamas infrastructure. In the video, it seems like a neighborhood, but underneath this neighborhood is an extensive system of tunnels which weapons are being hidden in, and in a whole infrastructure of a terrorist organization. I live in a house. We do not have a tunnel system underneath our house. People who are innocent civilians don't allow terrorists or a terrorist organization to dig and store weapons. It's hard to call them weapons of mass destruction, but yes, we saw the amount of destruction that these weapons can cause when in use. And it will take, I guess, months or years in order for us to fully understand how this happened. From a military point of view, we failed, but since then we are succeeding. It's slow successes, it's baby steps, and this will take time. And I know we're used to, we want instant solutions, we want instant coffee, we want 6-day wars, so in 6 days we can finish things. This is a different story. Until
Listen,
about a
hold on
month.
for a second. Let them play the video so they can see it.
Okay, very good.
Thank you.
Okay, so this is, well, you'll see what happens to these buildings. Now, this is not out of revenge, or this is simply in order to make sure that Hamas will not use that infrastructure again. And that's going very slowly. And my unit may be finishing in the next few days. We know that we'll go out for a bit and then go in, back again. Personally, what I've been doing is spending less time in Gaza, but more time supporting the rear of the unit, the families. Inside Gaza, they're without cell phones. They're totally disconnected from their families. A woman, a wife of someone from the unit, called me and asked me to tell her husband that she just spent 1.5 million shekels and she bought a house. She hopes that he'll like it. 3 months, a lot has happened in Israel. I went in and out, bringing information, bringing the news from the rear end of the unit and giving the soldiers whatever they need in order to fulfill their missions. the fact that you're here with us on the Zoom and in spirit is heartwarming and amazing. And we feel that we are backed up by you and by hundreds and thousands of Jewish people from all over the world that know that this is our time. This is our time to shine, and this will be difficult. And unfortunately, more soldiers may be injured and killed because we are in war. And we are in a war for our house, for Michal's house, for everyone else's house in southern Israel. And I haven't said a word about the north, which we haven't fully started with. How do we end? We end with hope. You saw the video of the soldiers singing Hatikva. As Jewish people, we should never lose our hope. We have to hope and pray for better days to come. We hope that they come soon. Am Yisrael Chai. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Itzik and Michal. We love you. Please know that you and our friends in Israel are in our prayers, thoughts, and in our hearts. Before we close the Zoom, I wanted to share one last video. It's the video developed in 24 hours for the Centennial opening event on October 11th. While we were only beginning to understand the depths of the tragedy, it still leaves me feeling hopeful, knowing that our community is standing shoulder to shoulder with Israel yesterday, today, and always.
Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Battles raged for hours in communities across southern Israel, and officials on both sides say Israeli soldiers and civilians are now captives in Gaza.
Saturday's attack holds deep significance for Israel, as the country has just marked 50 years after the Yom Kippur War.
Unapologetic, not just unapologetic, we are proud, we are joyful, and we will never give in to anyone that asks us to erase ourselves in any way.
Shalom, Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol ha'olam. Yaseh shalom, shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Yaseh shalom, Yaseh shalom ve'al kol ha'olam.
So many glimpses of great memories from the Centennial mission in that inspiring video. I wanted to close by thanking each and every one of you who has supported the Federation's Emergency Fund for Israel. We are deeply proud that our Federation has raised more than $28 million in emergency funds, which go directly to our partners and community members in Israel for the most vital and immediate needs. As you know, our 2024 UJA annual campaign was launched during our mission, thanks to so many of you who have contributed. If you have not done so already, please make your gift now. to ensure Federation's ability to respond rapidly to crises even before any emergency monies are collected. And the annual campaign also enables Federation to combat anti-Semitism, provide security to support over 80 institutions, and care for anyone and everyone in need throughout our greater Metro West community. We are also marking Federation's centennial with the largest fundraising campaign in our history, raising $250 million to strengthen our Jewish community today, for the next century, and beyond. Please ask me about how you can help support these critical efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining us this morning.